Mr. Chairman, may I
Reclaiming my
respond,
time.
please?
The gentleman
At the
has
conclusion of
responded.
Mr. King's time, you may.
Struck him over here now to your left, and I wanted to point out that you repeatedly stated here before this committee that you separated out your personal beliefs from any action that you took. You'd agree with that, I'm confident. And as implausible as that sounds to us, we've listened to a dogmatic defense of the implausible argument that no matter how biased you were, no matter how profane in that bias you were, it didn't affect your judgment or your decisions. Now, that's a tough argument to make, but I recall your response to Mr. Duncan at Tennessee on that topic, and you said, I don't agree with the characterization of my views as biased. Do you hold with that position that your views are not biased, whether
Yes.
or not they colored your activities as an agent?
I believe they did not color them, and I believe they are not biased.
The derogatory texts that you delivered that have been before this committee for the better part of this day don't reflect a bias.
They don't, sir, and why? Because
So
not
you've
a
gone-
single representative of the IG has been able to demonstrate a
You've gone
single
to the
act,
level of-
not one indicating
Mr.
bias. Not one.
Reclaiming
Not
my
one
time,
text,
Mr.
sir,
Struck.
but
It's
not
one
one
thing to
act.
say that you found a way to wall off your bias, but it's not possible to take under oath and tell the American people in this committee that there's not bias. If
Sir.
there's never ever, there's the evidence of this bias is replete throughout this evidence, throughout these documents that we have. Let me take you another place. Were you involved in the questioning of Hillary Clinton on July 2nd, 2016?
Yes, I was. I'm
and-
pausing because I think it was second or third, but if you represent it's the second, it's the second.
The second is the date that I believe we worked with. But in any case, in that room, how many agents were in that room?
3, including myself.
And were there any other representatives of the executive branch of government?
There were.
And who were they?
5 attorneys from the Department of Justice.
5?
Yes, sir.
5 attorneys from the Department of Justice and 4 then from the FBI,
No,
including
sir.
yourself?
No, sir. A total of 8 people.
3
5 DOJ
FBI,
attorneys,
5
3 FBI
DOJ.
agents. That's-
And then the people in the room with Hillary Clinton were Earl Mills,
Secretary
Heather Samuelson?
Clinton, 1, 2, 3, I believe 4 other attorneys, 4 or 5.
I see. And did you record any of that interview? And can you tell me how long that took?
We did not record it. My recollection is that it took several hours. I don't recall the exact time.
And then what documents would you have that memorialize the interview?
An FD 302 is created based on the notes taken by the participants in the interview.
And how many of those 8 agents or officers had their notes, that took notes in that room?
I don't know. I know the
Do you have
2,
yours?
I did, I believe some, and I know the 2 agents did. I don't recall about the DOJ attorneys.
I want to ask you to reconstruct, who were those agents?
There were 2 of the case agents assigned to the Clinton investigation.
And what are their names?
Sir, FBI policy,
I
I've been
expected that
directed, I can't
answer. But I want to let you know, we must know who was in that room. And we must have access to those notes, because that's what they used to compile the 302 report. Did you brief Director Comey on that 302 report?
Well, Sue, 2 things. Going back to the 302, it is relying on notes, but it's also drafted based on the memories of the agents participating in it.
Notes
so
and memory.
Notes are not complete. But yes, my recollection is I did brief Director Comey on the results of that interview.
And we will be asking for the specifics on that data that you are knowledgeable of. And I'd ask the chairman if you would be willing to issue a subpoena for the texts that Mr. Struck testifies as are not work-related. I believe there's a very good chance they are work-related. And the balance of this for the information on who was in the room on that date when Hillary Clinton was interviewed, which officers from the FBI, which officers from the DOJ, and let's call them to this Congress and get their testimony on what took place inside that room, Mr. Chairman.
We will take your request under advisement. The time of the gentleman has expired. I told Mr. Struck he could briefly respond.